I've failed in the past. I've made mistakes that have hurt me and hurt others, and so that is what I am destined to do again. I had this or that happen in my past, and I can't move beyond it. It's now what sums up my life. A lot of us have those kind of thoughts, those kind of words in our heads. We feel trapped by whatever it is that's in our past. We feel like our potential is limited because of whatever we've done wrong before. We feel like our strength is determined by our weakness. But none of that is true. That is not how humans are made. That is not how we're designed. But we hear that we're not the only ones who feel that way. In the readings today, every single one of these greats that we heard from has a reason why their past is haunting them. So for Isaiah, it was, I'm from unclean people. My people never amounted to much, so I don't belong here in the temple of God. For St. Paul, it was, after what I've done, I don't even deserve to be called an apostle. And Peter does it best of all. His response to a miracle that he sees Jesus perform is to say, Lord, leave me. If you only knew how sinful I was, you wouldn't want to be anywhere near me. Now that I know how holy you are, you don't belong with me. Let me go. All of them represent different ways that all of us beat up on ourselves for our past, feel trapped by it, feel limited by it. But humans were made to grow beyond our past. That's how we're made. From the time of our earliest development, we're meant to go beyond whatever the earlier limitation was. An infant would never learn to walk if this weren't true. The infant needs to be able to say, I've tried to scoot around for the past 2 weeks. Every time I start to get up and wobble my way forward, I fall down, so I'll never walk. They don't do that. They say, I'm going to do this until I get it. No one is born knowing how to ski. You have to work at that, and you have to go beyond boundaries again and again. No one works out at the gym to have the same level of health that they had when they started. Nobody goes to fitness classes or goes for walks or runs assuming that their health will stay at the level that it began. They always want to push beyond. Weightlifters lift weights every day to incrementally add more and more strength to their bodies. They don't lift the same amount of pounds in the 6th month as they did on the first day. That would defeat the whole purpose. We are meant to go beyond our earlier limits and grow into limits that we could never have imagined before. Our past does not determine our future. One way to think about this is like a speedboat. Maybe if you can picture a boat going by on the Hudson. A speedboat leaves a wake behind it when it travels fast. And that wake shows you where the boat has been. But that wake is a vanishing trail. If you turn away for a moment and then look back, there's a good chance you won't be able to tell anymore where the boat was. The water's smooth out again. And that wake has absolutely no control or no power to affect the boat's course. The wake of the boat doesn't determine where it goes next. The captain does. The same is true with planes. On a summer day, to look up at the sky and see those vapor trails coming out of those planes, don't look away for long or you'll lose the trail because it's vanishing. And it has no power over the direction of the plane. The pilot decides that, not the vapor trail. It's a vanishing record of where it had been. And once it's gone, it's gone. One of the things we need to understand is our mistakes are how we learn. Mistakes are how human beings learn. It's okay to make mistakes. That's part of the plan. We have to just learn how to adjust based on the mistakes that we've made. But you might be thinking something right now that St. Peter was thinking in the gospel. Yeah, those are nice words, but if you knew me, if you knew what I'd done, If you knew what was in my past, that's the attitude that can limit us too. If you only knew who you were talking to here, you wouldn't tell me that. You would say, get out of here now. But that's a lie. That's a lie. All of us have our past, but it's a vanishing trail. It has no control over the direction that we're going now. Yesterday, we had a bunch of our second graders come to First Reconciliation, and this banner in the front represents all of their participation in that sacrament. It was so wonderful to see them coming up, so excited to go to confession. And there's a good reason for that, because I think confession is one of the very best sacraments. Because think about what it is. When you go to confession, you get out a roadmap with the priest and take a look at the journey that you've been on. And you look at where you've made turns and what direction you've gone. And you see that some of the ways that you've gone have been bad choices. You made some right or left turns that weren't a great idea. You've gone a longer route than you needed to get somewhere. Or you've made a shortcut that was not good for you in the long run. And what you do is together you sit there in God's presence and you decide not to go that route anymore. The Catholic teaching about confession really highlights this. You know, you don't even need to remember your sins after confession. Did you know that? You're not required to even remember them. You can if you want to, if it helps you to grow, but you don't have to. God doesn't, so you don't have to either. But there is something at confession that you are not allowed to do. You're not allowed to feel guilty for them anymore. After confession, you are not allowed to feel guilty for your sins. Because think of what that would say to God. God gives you this great gift of forgiveness, and you say, yeah, I don't buy it. Why would we do that? We have to trust God, that it's forgiven. It is a sacrament, after all. If you believe in the sacrament, you have to let go of the guilt. It's not your option to hold on to it. If you want to remember your sins, maybe you can if you want to for growth. But guilt is not your option. You're not allowed. So, this week we are being challenged to change our relationship with our past, to see if we can let go of all of the baggage that we drag with us, if we can stop seeing it as a reason to limit our future, if we stop using it as an excuse. A lot of us do that. Well, after what I went through in my childhood, I can't possibly. But that is not true. That's not how it works. The past does not determine our future. A lot of you probably use GPS when you drive. I think I'm at a point now where I can't even read a map anymore. I pretty much depend on it for everything. And if you're like me, sometimes you're not paying as close attention to it as you ought to, and so you turn a little early. Or you miss the ramp that it's telling you to take. You turn a little late, or you misunderstand. And you know what's interesting? When you do that, GPS never goes, why'd you do that, dummy? Never. It says, recalculating. That's what it says. It says, okay, we can still get there. All right, well, I didn't see this coming, but all right, we can do that. It never says, well, now we're never going to make it. Has GPS ever said that to you once? It's impossible to get there now. Nice going. No, it says recalculating. That's exactly what we're to do with our past. We use it to recalculate. There's no reason to believe that because we've made a wrong turn before that we're going to again. That's unfounded. So, St. Paul has got it right. He doesn't run away from his past. He names the things that he's done that are wrong. And then he says, but you know what? By the grace of God, I am what I am. And that is a very healthy thing for all of us to say. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to make wrong turns all along. But let's make our work not harping on them or using them as an excuse to not go forward. Let's get to work when we make a wrong turn and start recalculating.